For the first time in 11 years and 5 movies, we finally get a Transformers flick not directed by Michael Bay. Hey there guys, how are you? So before we talk about Bumblebee, I first want to show you a YouTube clip that's much worse than any Michael Bay movie you've ever seen. It's where I talk about Transformers 3 in a cardboard box that I called a robot suit. Enjoy.
Now, replacing Megan Fox as a love interest was Rosie Huntington Whiteley, or I'm just going to call her Cheekbones. It's like when you're puking, you're dry heaving, and nothing else will come up, but your gag reflex still keeps pushing. Yeah, that's what they kind of were to me in that movie.
That actually happened. Those were the glory days. Anyway, guys, the film Bumblebee stars Hailee Steinfeld, and it takes place in 1987, and it's about a girl who soon discovers that her Volkswagen Bug is a robot in disguise. Going into this movie, I didn't have high expectations, but I was really curious to see what a non-Bay Transformers movie could be. Would it go back to what we wanted it to always be? That G1 series coming to live action? Well, it sort of is, and that puts a smile on my face. But don't get me wrong, I've always enjoyed the first Transformers movie. Ever since watching it in theaters back in 2007, I saw that movie 4 times in theaters. I sort of liked Shia LaBeouf back then, and Megan Fox, well, she was nice to look at. And then we got the next 4 Transformers movies. And when it comes to all the Transformers sequels, it's sort of like chewing on tinfoil for 3 hours. And when it came to those movies, they were blatant cash grabs. Michael Bay just lost his mind and he completely sold out. There are multiple scenes in those films simply for product placement. There were Mountain Dew machines turning into Decepticons. Mark Wahlberg drinks a Bud Light for 25 minutes on screen. And, by the way, speaking of all that, did I mention that this video is sponsored by Vikings War of Clans? Vikings War of Clans was inspired by top PC strategy and RPG games of the 90s like Diablo or Fallout that we were all crazy about and I loved playing as a kid. If you want to relive those memories once again and get a new experience, this mobile game with amazing graphics is what you need. What makes Viking World so addictive is that more than 20 million online players are constantly changing the way the game evolves by never-ending fighting over resources, forging new alliances, and competing in live events. Support my channel by downloading Vikings for free, only from my links down below in the description box. And get the special bonus of 200 gold coins and a protective shield. Now let's talk about Bumblebee. The best thing about this film was the time period of the 1980s. I love movies that take place in the 1980s. And throughout this movie, there's tons of 80s nostalgia and references to 1980s movies, which I'm a sucker for, I will admit. There's one scene where Bumblebee's watching The Breakfast Club and it ties into the rest of the movie, and I really enjoyed that. If I wrote a movie like Bumblebee, that's something I feel like I would do. You know what? I take that back. If I was writing the script for Bumblebee and he was watching a 1980s movie on VHS, he wouldn't be watching The Breakfast Club. No. He'd be watching this right here. Over the top, winner takes all, loser takes the fall. Could you imagine Bumblebee arm wrestling a Decepticon because he watched Stallone do it in this movie? Huh? Maybe in the sequel. One of the great things about Bumblebee, and I think a lot of Transformers fans of the original series will really appreciate, there's multiple G1 series Transformers that show up throughout this movie. And you're watching it and you're thinking to yourself, this is the Transformers movie I always wanted to see, and now I'm sort of getting it. There's multiple G1 series Autobots and Decepticons who show up. You get shots of Cybertron throughout the film, and it feels like complete fan service. And it's the fan service that Michael Bay neglected to ever give us. And now we're finally getting it, and it feels good. And when it comes to Bumblebee, I really enjoyed the first half of this movie. I really enjoyed the origin and the setup of the characters. I liked how the young girl discovered Bumblebee and some of the sequences and just showing her everyday routines of being like a normal teenager. And I think she's a talented actor. But her character in this film was very reminiscent to the same character that she played in Edge of 17. It's almost the exact same character. Even the way she delivers her lines and her acting style, except her character in Bumblebee, it's much better with fixing cars. And also in this movie, it stars John Cena, who occasionally shows up randomly every 20 minutes throughout the movie, and he plays generic military Sector 7 guy. But I will say John Cena's cameos throughout this film just felt bizarre. I get that they were trying to be over the top and a little bit corny and hammy at times, but they just tonally just felt like they were tacked into the movie at the last second. And now it's time for my negatives with the film Bumblebee. In the second half of the film, it sort of turns into that cliche, predictable plot featuring Transformers and Autobots where the Decepticons want to send a message up to wherever to send more bad guys to take over Earth, blah blah blah. And much like the Bayformers movies, this film also feels the need to shove dumb human characters down your throat throughout the entire movie. And no one goes to these movies to see those characters. We don't want to see that. We want to see Autobots and Decepticons and Cybertron. But now, here are my final flicking thoughts on the film Bumblebee. This film is definitely a fun, entertaining movie. It's probably the best Transformers movie we've gotten yet. And keep in mind, I had no hopes for this film. It's a Bumblebee spin-off movie. Who would have thought this was going to be as good as it was? But I guess what it took was a competent director who wasn't Michael Bay. And I don't even hate Michael Bay. I like some of his movies, like Armageddon or The Rock, but not many more. Overall, I enjoyed this movie. It's a step in the right direction of getting that perfect, awesome, epic Transformers movie, and there is some really fun fan service moments in this film. My name is Optimus Prime, and I'm going to give this movie a B-. Very bad Optimus Prime impression. My name is the Flickpick, and I send this message to all of you. Here's my question for you guys, and let me know down below. What did you think about the film Bumblebee? Or what is your favorite movie featuring a robot? Terminator counts, right? I'm gonna go with Terminator. Even though he's a cybernetic organism, I'm still going with Terminator. As always, guys, thanks for watching. And if you haven't already, make sure you check out my last review for the film Aquaman. Link to that after this video. You just click the big box. It's a good time. Make sure you subscribe. That way, I can see you next time.